Alright, here we are. Dota 2 Professional League. Vici Gaming versus EHOME.Keen. It's a set of two. We're already in this first game draft. I'm your caster, B-Cop, joined today by PQMZ. How you doing today?
Not too bad, dude. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Getting ready for some nice Dota starting at midnight for me. I assume it's a pretty early day for you.
I woke up at 2 a.m., so
That sounds just delightful.
I'll just message your sleep routine up pretty well.
Yeah, I could tell you that. I'm getting to bed around 6 a.m. here. So let's get right on into this draft. Vici Gaming, EHOME.Keen, they've banned out the Swardar, they've banned out the Magnus on Vici, and for EHOME.Keen, they've banned out the Abaddon as well as the Kato. Vici picking up Crystal Maiden and Pudge, while EHOME.Keen, they've picked up that pretty standard Centaur as well as the Dazzle. So from these two picks, you see anything really forming out for either side? Just in terms of draft?
I'd probably say eHome got the better of the opening, purely for the fact that Centaur's one of the best heroes right now, and they also have a bit more flexibility with their heroes. CM and Pudge are pretty much guaranteed to be the support duo for VG, which might cause us some hassle if they have to pick sustainable solo laners.
So, you know, Crystal Maiden, Pudge, probably be Crystal Maiden in that 5 spot, Pudge kind of in that roaming 4, and for EHOME.Keen, you can only assume that that Centaur is going to be in the off lane, and Dazzle is going to be in that 5. So they ban out the Jug, they ban out the OD. I do kind of like the duo of Crystal Maiden and Pudge early on as a sort of gank squad, but once Centaur kind of has that blink, I mean, all favor for EHOME.Keen with kind of finding their position and looking for some gank kills.
It's mostly just the eHome now know VG support duo. Unless they run some kind of offlane purge, which is very out of the meta. So it makes their drafting a lot easier now. They can plan for some kind of aggro tri-lane with the Centaur if they want. If they see a somewhat vulnerable safe lane from VG, if they pick something like a Slark, which is something they have done in the past plenty of times. It just makes their draft slightly more awkward. But yeah, the support duo is strong at all stages of the game. I really like the new CM, and Pudge has become very popular with good reason.
Yeah, Pudge has been, especially in DPL, Pudge is a pretty popular pick for these Chinese teams. You know, Crystal Maiden, you sometimes see it paired up with a Tusk, which obviously we're not seeing here for Vici. Do you like this Crystal Maiden Pudge more than you see the Crystal Maiden Tusk?
I actually don't think I've seen Tusk on this patch at all. I think Pudge just leaves you more room to play in the game. Tusk has a lot less impact if you have a bad early game, I think. Whereas Pudge is, yes, you can miss your early game hooks, but late game it's still just as important.
Yeah. So
it's definitely more ceiling for the hero to play towards.
Yeah. And for Vici, they've banned out the Jug as well as the Venge. And then EHOME.Keen, they've banned out the OD as well as the Legion Commander. And Vici, now they've picked up that Puck, which I kind of like. It sets up well with the Dream Coil getting a hook, and of course, Dream Coil into the Crystal Maiden ult is always pretty nice. And then following that up, EHOME.Keen have picked up the Earth Spirit. So Earth Spirit, always a pain to deal with mid, but with Puck, I mean, I feel like it's hard for an Earth Spirit to really come mid and take advantage of that ganking ability.
It comes a bit later, but it depends who his mid laner is. Puck's generally pretty good, and they pick it as a way of dealing with the Centaur and the Dazzle. If you can stop the people running away and maybe finding a silence on Dazzle in team fights, it means you can actually connect on the targets you want, which very few heroes can actually do. Stampede's generally a pretty good get-out tool.
Or even just to close the distance, too, with the Stampede is nice.
Yeah, it works both ways. I really like the Earth Spirit for them as well, because it gives a lot of potential to A, pressure the puck, and B, mess around with the offlane with Centaur. Two fairly beefy heroes that can put out a lot of damage early.
Yeah. So Centaur still in that offlane, probably going to be sitting there. Dazzle, Earth Spirit, I would say, are splitting the 4-5, and now Vici, it looks as though they're going towards the off-lane Axe, which I kind of like. I like Axe in this situation right now. Earth Spirit, Dazzle, not exactly too strong, and if you can get the Dazzle in that call, kind of take out that Shallow Grave.
Yeah, really, really strong hero in general. This fits in the same role as Puck. You can't save people with Stampede, and you definitely can no longer save people with Crave unless you silence the Axe.
Reserve time.
It does lend them to a lot of early game fighting though for VG. If their lanes go well and then they can get their early blinks up, they're on almost a bit of a clock. Presuming EHOME get like 2 cores, as opposed to something that's a bit more mid-game orientated for their mid laner or their safe laner.
You think there's anything specific that really sets up right now for EHOME.Keen? Obviously, the Lifestealer is still available. That's, a good duo with the Centaur. But do you see that pick coming out for EHOME.Keen right now, or is there something else you kind of see in this draft that might do a little bit better?
I think you definitely could go Lifestealer, but I'd probably personally look at things like Sniper or maybe even the mid Venom we've been seeing recently with the new talent changes. It's kind of one of those drastic changes to how the hero gets played now, and I kind of like what I've seen when I can't remember which teams it was, but you've probably seen it played if you've been watching any Dota recently.
I've seen, I think, like one game of mid Veno, but I haven't really caught too much Dota recently, other than just what I've been kind of casting for now. But Shadow Fiend picked up mid. I was saying Lifestealer safe lane, that's still an option, but you said maybe Veno or Sniper mid. What do you think of this Shadow Fiend up against Vici? Do you think who has the advantage, Puck or Shadow Fiend?
I'd say it's definitely an SF favored matchup, but it's mostly going to come down to how much the supports can impact the lane. And Shadow Fiend kind of fits the same role as the other heroes I was mentioning. It's a core that scales into the game, plays very well in team fights. It's just a bit more in their face as opposed to the other two. Well, the Sniper, and it's a bit higher risk than Benno, I'd say, because it's easier to shut down in the lanes. But that's our Spirit's job to stop that happening.
Mm-hmm. So Wraith King gets banned out by Vici, and they're looking for a safe laner. Both teams are looking for that position 1. I like Lifestealer for EHOME.Keen. Personally, I don't really know what Vici should go with this Puck and Axe. It's a good amount of control with the call and the Dream Coil, as well as, of course, the Frostbite and the Dismember. So is there anything you see fitting with Vici? Well, I think that maybe EHOME.Keen's going to go to that Lifestealer.
I think for Vici, they need a core that can take over the game. So you want something like maybe Spectre, Terrorblade, Anti-Mage. And I thought the Lifesteal was also a pretty good pick for EHOME. Vici read that like a book, and then they counterpick it with Terrorblade, which doesn't really have any good heroes to deal with it this game. Centaur's okay at messing with it in the laning stage, but after that, it's really hard for them to deal with the TB this game, and it's got so much support to back it up that it's probably the best core they could have gone with, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't ban it. Morphling's a lot easier to deal with.
So, Crystal Maiden, Pudge, Puck, Axe, and Terrorblade for Vici. For EHOME.Keen, they did end up going with that Lifestealer, Shadow Fiend, Earth Spirit, Dazzle, Centaur. So, what you were saying, that Vici, they seem to have the advantage in this game, but, if EHOME, they don't look to be the front runners, what do you think it is that they need to do to really find themselves winning this game 1? And I guess we'll wait for the WoW music to kind of pass over.
For EHOME, I think it's mostly reading the map and taking smart engagements early and scaling through farm. If they fight into VG at the wrong kind of times, it could just massively skew the game. They need to get their items up and then kind of play smart. Whereas for VG, it's kind of the polar opposite. They want to be making things happen as often as they can, I think. Terrorblade's one of the best heroes at either using the space or coming to help his team. Once he gets like level 5, level 6, he can easily TP down, take the offlane tower, or his supports can come to him and do the same kind of thing. whereas EHOME don't have that as much. They definitely could fight early if they have good lanes, but we shall see. It looks like they're setting up for some kind of aggro lane, which I think will set them up pretty well. Terrorblade's really easy to pressure early, and the two supports are not good at dealing with a tri-lane. They're okay at like 1, maybe 2 heroes, but you put 3 heroes there and they're under a lot of trouble.
So it looks as though they're going to go with Dark down low, up top, JJJ with the Lifestealer with Wrong and Earth Spirit kind of roaming around, which leaves mid, of course, the Shadow Fiend for EHOME.Keen on the other side. Not too sure about their lineups just yet. You've got Yang on the Axe coming over through with the Crystal Maiden will be DDC. HYM on the Pudge, follow over on Ori with the Puck, and then finally, it's going to be End on the Terrorblade. And will be 2 bounty runes apiece, Ori and Yang for Vici, and JJJ and the Shadow Fiend for EHOME. So let's take a look right now as we do see Pudge just smoked up, just coming over mid, probably to just come over, get that courier. And as I say that, I look over mid for a split second, miss the courier kill that I was kind of predicting, but he's already got that courier, and it kind of gives more of an advantage for Vici in the mid lane already.
Yeah, Vici read the lanes really well. They have their Terrorblade starting bottom, so he's not under the immediate pressure, and the Axe can deal with this lane pretty comfortably. Worst to worst, he can go to the jungle. And starting off with the courier kill just sets them in good stead.
Yeah, things lining up already for Vici in terms of getting these lanes called out, and you've already got yourself a rolling boulder on Ori mid, bringing him down to about half health. So, like you said, the Earth Spirit, they're just trying to harass out this Puck, and Shadow Fiend hits pretty hard early on, so obviously Ori's got to have to be careful mid for this Earth Spirit, as well as the Shadow Fiend already sitting at half health with another rolling boulder coming in. Just an illusory orb back, but not too far. So Ori, with the constant aggression from Earth Spirit, as well as the Shadow Fiend, seems to already be a tough lane for Ori. Is there any way just to deal with this? Is it just HYM who's coming on through looking for a nice hook? As the rolling boulder comes out again, there's a phase shift. We'll get a salvo for just a moment. Ori's still running back. And behind them is HYM. He's only got himself Rot, no hook. So just kind of trying to push back EHOME.Keen. And not to much avail as DDC right there with the Frostbite. And the illusory orb comes on forward. And it's Vici who turn it around and get themselves first blood. They'll come right over to this shrine. And they've already got one under their belt for this first game.
And that's the advantage of how they set their lanes up, with having the Terrorblade not needing the supports immediately. They can kind of equalize this mid lane early. Unfortunately, they don't kill the Shadow Fiend. He's CSing really well. Now he's got his wand, he's going to be really hard to pressure. It doesn't matter too much if the Earth Spirit goes down occasionally when you get this kind of advantage. It only gets hard if a Puck now. This hero cannot last hit when SF has, at the moment, 10 more damage. It's only going to get worse once he starts racing up the waves.
And just a moment. HYM still just Rot. I was going to say down low, Terrorblade and Crystal Maiden DDC were looking to get themselves a kill. Meanwhile, up top, they will get the call on 2 from Yang, but he's just looking to TP back to tower, keep himself safe. And again, HYM going to get that courier a second time. Or it's actually it's HYM mid. So DDC grabbed the bounty rune, got confused. So rolling boulder through on Ori once more. They're looking to get this kill on the Puck. They do get the silence, so can't jump to that illusory orb. And a kill right on back for EHOME. So a nice kill to bring it back at 1 apiece. A lot of gold going the way of this Earth Spirit. And it starts to now put the, I would say, advantage towards the Shadow Fiend. He's got himself a little bit more time. He's got that magic wand. And he's looking all right mid.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for a better early game for this hero. CSing really nicely. His supports netting him kills. You could maybe ask that your courier doesn't die twice, and that's probably equalizing the net worth a lot, because you see for Vici, the Puck's still on top, despite the deficit in CS and the kill.
Meanwhile, down low, they're looking to go in on Dark, and they do get the slow. There's the Metamorphosis coming out from End, and they've gotten HYM in there with the Rod. And it looks as though they are going to get themselves an easy kill on Dark. Now they're looking to get themselves Wrong. He hasn't used his hook back on HYM. They get the hook on Wrong. And it's 2 kills, a double kill for End. And a quick 3-1 advantage for Vici. 2 kills going for the Terrorblade. And with those early kills, he'll just become that nuisance that much quicker.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job of equalizing the lanes with these two supports. Again, it just goes back to the nature of their draft. If they weren't doing this, they'd be so far behind, but because they're netting the kills, they're staying a lot closer with the game. And they need to kind of keep this up as much as they can.
Yeah, Vici, they've got the 3 early kills, a solid ganking duo of DDC and HYM, netting their Terrorblade 2 kills. And if you're the side of EHOME, you know that that Terrorblade's going to become a problem soon. And it's not really something you want to be forced to deal with, a nicely farmed Terrorblade going into the 10-minute mark. And they're going to try and go in on the Shadow Fiend. Again, the stun gets thrown out from the Earth Spirit, but now with the silence, it looks as though Shadow Fiend might find a way out, but there's the illusory orb from Ori. They're going to look for a second one with the Waning Rift. They get another one with the Earth Spirit. Ori, another double kill. Ron comes in just to join on the whole death frenzy. And now Ori might have gone a little bit too far under tower, uses that phase shift illusory orb out, and will end up being safe. But HYM, he's not done just yet with the Frostbite. The hook comes through, and it will be 3 kills mid for Vici, putting themselves up 6-1. So really just falling apart in that mid lane, dying one after the other. It just does not look good in the early game for EHOME at all.
No, it feels like the Dazzle's on a different page to the rest of the heroes. Not having Grave at level 3 is something you see if you're like zoning heroes or you're doing well in lanes, but this game is all about reacting to the support duo that's just constantly roaming around.
And they're looking to go again mid as Shadow Fiend just getting body blocked by DDC. They get the hook with the rot. Should be another kill, and it will be. DDC, this Vici duo support gank squad, it's just going ham all over EHOME right now. 7-1.
It's just too easy for them. Like, EHOME actually have zero vision on the map.
Yeah.
Their Dazzle's just wandering around, accomplishing nothing, and the Earth Spirit's not strong enough to stop the 3 heroes. And now that they've kind of made this blunder and they're dealing with it really badly, Vici are in a massive lead when it comes to like lane equilibriums and how the game feels. Their supports are both pretty farmed, decently leveled, and they've now done the rotation of the Terrorblade to the top lane, which is slightly safer, as the map's opening up a bit more now, and you can just start pressuring the tower or farm the woods.
Oof, close hook from HYM. That would have been probably a kill, as En's got that Metamorphosis up, and they probably get the Frostbite out. But they're looking to just grab a tower with the Metamorphosis. HYM and DDC are here to be that duo defense squad for End, but you take a look, and he's got 3,500, just about 3,600 net worth, a full 1,000 gold in front of this Life Stealer, and the top 3 cores on the net worth are all Vici, and they are looking to really just win this early game. And can that just propel them all the way through towards the mid game and ultimately win this game with ease? Meanwhile, mid, they do lose Ori for their EHOME.Keen's second kill.
Yeah, they're definitely setting up as well as he could be expected to do, as you said, follow through and ride this Terrorblade to a victory. This is one of the fattest TBs I've seen 8 minutes in a real game. And the rest of his team is keeping up as well. Like, they have such a huge net worth lead. It's mostly down to Couriers. And the few kills following that.
Yeah, you just kind of wonder what EHOME's going to do just to really find themselves back in. And, you know, all things considered, Dark's found himself pretty close to a Blink Dagger. But as I say that, there's the Frostbite with the hook. Hoofstomp's going to stop him from getting rotted up and slowed for a little bit longer. But Dark just trying to run away. Hook up in 6 seconds. Here's the illusory orb of Ori. They're really just looking for this kill. And they will use the Dream Coil to get the dunk coming through from Axe. So Dark, who was close-ish to that Blink Dagger, still sitting around 1,500, and they really need that initiation on EHOME if they're looking to make anything happen.
It feels like they're just way too passive right now. EHOME had a window where the Lifestealer like gets level 6 and the Earth Spirit sits near him with a TP, and then you just invest counter gank and you can stop that by happening. You can fight them pretty easily when they don't have Terrorblade. But they just don't seem to know what to do right now. They're trying to set up this kill top lane, which
They are going to get the rolling boulder in, and he's silenced up. They're not really doing too much damage. There's the stun. They have the Shadow Fiend joining the fray, and it will be enough. They get the Infest pop, and they finally get End to stop his terror against EHOME.Keen, but it took a lot. They've got 4 heroes up here for just the Terror Blade. I mean, you rotate 4 heroes. Meanwhile, down low, just some nice, easy farm for the side of Vici. Is it really worth it to rotate that many heroes just for a Terror Blade?
I think they had to do something, and what they are going to get off it is most likely a tower. But Vici won't mind too much because the DD Pucks basically killed the mid-tier 1, and Axis going to be able to skip the waves bottom. So Vici probably get a overall lead from this, and they even get the kill from trying to deny the tower. But EHOME needed to do something, so it's better than what they were doing previously.
Yeah, they got themselves a third of the amount of kills that Vici has right now, 3 to 9. And I didn't end up missing that kill over mid, as it was Ori who took down the Earth Spirit. And it's more farm going the way of a Puck. And Puck, if he finds himself some early farm, he could be just as a problem as Terror Blade can early game with some farm. It's just, Puck is one of those heroes that can really snowball out of control, especially against the lineup that EHOME.Keen's kind of running.
Yeah, and with the Midas, it gives them the ability to scale a bit more into the game, as opposed to go all in on the early game like you see people normally do with Blinks. Which I think is a really smart call, because the way they've played this early game, they're coming out of it with probably more net worth than they should. Their Axe is also really found. He's going to have Blink Vanguard by like 12-13 minutes. And the Puck doesn't need to initiate at that point.
Can kind of sit back, come in, and as they're leaving, then kind of drop that Dream Coil. But once Yang has that Blink, he's the one initiating with the Blink call.
Or honestly, the Terror Blade just walking up to their towers and then waiting for EHOME to respond, then you counter initiate. If you don't need a Blink to deal with that situation. Because they're getting to a point where I think once Terror Blade gets Yasha and maybe level 12, and they get the Blink on X, it's easy for them.
Blink hoof stomp in, but hooked right on back is Yang from HYM. They do get the rolling boulder in with the Infest pop. Yang getting very low, the Magnetize on top of everything, and the Stampedes run through, but there's a Dream Coil on 3. DDC's gonna get the kill. It's already 2 dead on EHOME. They get the Shallow Grave out on the Dazzle, but that's really not saving too much, as they will lose the Shadow Fiend and the Dazzle too. So a 4 for 1 that it was the initiation from EHOME they thought was going to go well, but a really nice Dream Coil coming in from Ori on 3. Vici clean it up, only losing Yang on the Axe. And that's really, to me, it showed what EHOME.Keen at this point were capable of, throwing everything at Vici, and it really didn't work out really at all.
No, they actually initiated pretty well, considering they could have messed it up really bad when the Puck took them away. But the Puck just cleaned up. It was very fortuitous for him, and now that sets EHOME on this really awkward spot where they probably don't feel like they're going to be able to fight them, so they're going to want to pretty much have 3 cores in 3 different lanes, slash the jungle and farm, which makes Vici's game so easy because they have so many ways to push the lanes in and also have the heroes to initiate.
Oh boy, walking right into the hands of HYM. There's the Dismember. Metamorphosis pop from End. He does so much damage this early on. And really, that Lifestealer had no chance. And then, meanwhile, down low, they're going to get another kill on Dark. Now 15-4 for Vici. At this point, you know, you can never say a game's over, especially in DPL in a league where we've seen tons of 10,000K throws. But what really is EHOME.Keen's blueprint to find themselves back in the game? They're down by just so much right now. 6,000 experience, 7,500 net worth. I mean, everything's got to kind of work out for them to really have a chance, right?
I think step 1 is definitely make a game plan, because they feel very unorganized with how they're playing right now.
Yeah.
And it's easier said than done for sure. I've been in this situation where everything's going badly for you, but they just need to kind of make a play. And ideally get as much vision out of their woods as possible so they can make Vici play blind, and that makes the aggression a lot riskier.
And meanwhile,
these kind of smoke ganks are nice, but it's risky. So you're not going into any vision at all. And now they're just going to counterplay it.
And it takes so much just to get DDC. It gets hooked back from HYM. Double Edge was about to come out, but Dark kind of reconsiders as now he's hit with that Frostbite. And now there's the Rot with the ulti coming through from DDC. They get another kill. The Dream Coil's out on 2. The Requiem of Souls is followed through from Shadow Fiend, but still haven't found anything on Vici. The hook from HYM on the Earth Spirit. They'll get a second. Now Vici's going to chase down EHOME. Shadow Fiend just trying to survive, but there's the Frostbite. There's the Sunder. They're going to get him down very low. The Illusory Orb follows it up, and the call comes out on 2. They get the first dunk. They're looking to kill this Dazzle. Wrong going to survive for as long as he can, but with the Frostbite and another dunk from Yang, it's 4-0 in favor of Vici. Now up 19-4, and we might get that little 420 in the game score.
We might not get the chance. Chinese teams are generally really good at not GGing out, but I wouldn't be surprised.
And there it is with the blink call. They get it on JJJ. He's going to fall to Yang. Another dunk goes his way, and he's got that Vanguard. He's got the blink. Now another 1,000 gold. 4-1-3. It's an amazing start for an Axe. The cores on Vici really just sliding through into an amazing game.
Yeah, it's just too easy for them. Every play they're making is working. Every play EHOME's making is getting countered because they are making desperate plays. Like, when they smoked under this ward, they saw, I think it was only the CM hitting the camp. There's a tier 2, there's a shrine. You're going there with 2 heroes on a dark map, pretty much. You didn't see anyone on this ward. And that's just a very hopeful play to be making.
And, you know, you seem to be
trying, but
yeah. And you seem to be right. You know, they have to make these plays out of desperation, and the Stampede's going to come through, but that's a rolling boulder back into the face of a Terrorblade, maybe not something you want to do. With the Stampede, EHOME.Keen, they've got 3 heroes here. Not enough to really find DDC or even find the Terrorblade. But, yeah, like you were saying, it just seems to be so disorganized for EHOME.Keen. And that's really faulting them.
To be fair, Vici is obviously the better team in terms of class. They have a lot more experience under their belt in terms of the players, and they're probably just better individually.
Yeah, Dream Coil comes through, but there's really not much there. They do get the Hoof Stomp to stop the Dismember, but Ori, DDC, they finish off Wrong and Dark. HYM ends up falling, but when you get that 1-for-2 trade, you know, it's something for EHOME.Keen, but, you know, again, in my opinion, just not worth it at all.
It buys them a tiny bit of space, but the problem is the space isn't being used. The Shadow Fiend was up top, he had to TP back to base, but he decided to, and now the map's in a position where Vici just own all of it. Yeah, they're not really putting too much pressure on though, because they're farming with this meta right now. And they don't really need to do anything right now, they're winning. It was kind of EHOME's game plan to play like this, where their cores just farm the map and get bigger, but because Vici got such a strong start, and now even their support has a Midas, and feels so safe to just push a lane like this on her own as CM, you know, that speaks to how the game's going.
Yeah, Midas, Wand, looking at Tranquils. Is DDC going to build in anything obscure now having that Midas, or is it just, you know, 4-staff standard kind of build for a CM despite having such an advantage?
Blink, Glimmer, Force, normal support items, I guess.
Yeah, so just staying pretty standard.
Yeah, the Midas is just a security tool in case they make 1 or 2 bad dives under the tier 3s when they're pushing with an Aegis or something.
There's a Blink Hoof Stomp, the hook out for Yang. There's the Stampede on forward, but again, some alright initiation from EHOME.Keen. But once you get that hook out from HYM, there's really not much to follow it up. They get the Blink in, there's the Dream Coil out on JJJ. He's getting very low. The Rage already popped out. There's the open wounds. The Requiem gets charged up, but they're not going to use it. Yang's getting very low and will fall to the raises coming through from the Shadow Fiend. Requiem popped. But again, really not much on Avicii. They use quite a bit. They get the Frostbite out on the Lifestealer. Meanwhile, on the back end, HYM as well as Ori are going to combine for a kill on Earth Spirit. They use the ulti of DDC. And they will find a 2-for-1. In favor of Vici, and they're still looking for more. Ori's trying to chase down this Shadow Fiend, now split up from the Dazzle, who's got that Shallow Grave. To me, it just seems like EHOME, they're constantly on the run. The Raze hits pretty well on Ori, now he might second guess himself. He blinks out, and Shadow Fiend and Dazzle, as well as JJJ and Dark, are now trying to be the aggressors. HYM's going to find himself out, no blink, no hoof stomp. and EHOME, they can only chase back the side of Vici and really not find too much out of it. And they kind of threw everything they had into that fight.
Yeah, it's the same story as when they smoked into the woods earlier, though. They're initiating under a Talon Tower on a dark map where they haven't pushed the lanes into a point where Vici need to TP anywhere first, so they haven't split the team up before they make the play or anything. They just brute force it, and the coach has been in amazing positions for almost all of those ganks so far, and he's always been able to hook the target out, and it just makes the game look too easy for them.
They don't get the blink call, they don't get the hook, and yeah, HYM, he's been in a solid position to really just save his course. He sits back enough, has the lineup just to bring out Yang or bring out, and just in case they get into a little bit of trouble, and it's been very much helping Vici kind of fall back for a second, have EHOME use that Stampede, try to find themselves a couple of kills, and then Vici after that, with HYM pulling back one of their cores, they just reinitiate off that.
It's single-handedly winning them the fights
Yeah.
before the net worth got to a point where they can kind of afford a mistake or two. But it's not like his hooks were easy to land either. Most of them were under creep waves, or they were just getting the hero out before the boulder went behind them. Yeah, he's been playing really, really well this entire game. From minute one, where he smokes, gets the ward out, smokes the chicken, smokes and does it again. He just understands how to play this punch.
He knows
It's
where
just
he's
looking
needed.
a lot easier.
Yeah, HYM 2-1 and 18 assists. That's a crazy stat line, especially only 20 minutes in.
This might be a good time for EHOME to fight though, because they just got BKB on the SF. This is like the only item that might change how the game feels, at least for 10 minutes or so. The problem is they just need EHOME, so they need Vici to be out on like this side of the map for it to be a good engagement. Because they have really nice vision around the pit right now, but Vici aren't taking the bait, they're just continuing to farm. And Terrorblade is definitely getting pretty fat. And if this game goes 40-50 minutes, he's one of the best players to be in that position.
And Ori's going to go in. There's the blink call, going to miss, but the hook comes in from HYM as well as the dismember. They get the dunk. They get that movement speed just a little bit further, but JJJ already behind that tier 2 and already out, and it looks as though Vici, they're just going to go for the tier 2 down low and continue to push forth on EHOME.Keen, who to this point really just don't have an answer for this lineup of Vici.
Yeah, once they group up, there's definitely no way that you're counter pushing. And I believe this is like the 5th rune for Puck that's been a DD. He's always had them and used them.
That's
It's a lot easier when you have rune control, but you know, it's still pretty nice when you get DDs all the way.
So they're just going to take this tier 3. They're trying to get the stun. They have the infest out on Dark, and he does blink in. But already out is Ori. They get the hook in onto Rong. He's going to shallow grave himself. But again, that's not available for the rest of his team. The Dream Coil comes out on 2. There's going to be a big silence to follow it up. They've already lost themselves the Dazzle. They'll lose the Earth Spirit. They're going to charge in. There's the Hurricane Pike to keep this end Terrorblade alive. He sunders up the Shadow Fiend back to full health. Dead is the Shadow Fiend. Dead is the rest of the team. And it's a complete team wipe. And GG's going to follow it up. Vici 30-6. A quick 23-minute game. And that was just a steamroll of a game.
Yeah, the Glimmer Cape saving the Terrorblade at the end just made it way too hard for EHOME. And I don't think their draft was bad or anything, they just didn't execute as well as Vici. And as I said earlier, Vici are basically tier 1 team. I don't think EHOME are quite there yet, so it's very realistic that they play better. But EHOME just didn't have a game plan that they could follow through with, and it was really, really clear from like minute 4 or 5 where they didn't move around the map very well at all.
Yeah, it just seemed as though they were so disorganized, and if EHOME can find themselves back for game 2, finding themselves a bit more organized, maybe we see that game go a little bit longer and possibly even in EHOME's favor. But for now, game 1 goes to Vici, and we'll have to see about game 2. I'm your caster, B-Cop, at BKOP92 on Twitter, and then I'm joined by PQMZ as well as at PQMZ on Twitter. We'll be back in just a moment with Game 2. Stay right there.